Hello. It's the last week in January and it stops raining for a few days and it's no longer frozen. So I'm out here, want to tidy up the beds here a little bit, but more importantly, I've got some plants that really need to get into the ground. So I'm clearing a little bit of space away. I've been leaving the stems on plants to protect them over winter, but I want to get to the central section of this bed, which means I just need to make a little bit of space. I don't often use a spade for anything because it's a no-dig garden, but I do dig holes if I want to plant something. And just here, there are a few bits that need to come up. So that I can put my new plant in. When I first made these beds, I covered them with a biodegradable plastic-free membrane that takes about 3 years to break down. So if I want to plant at any depth, I need to chop through that. And here it is. It's a cornstarch membrane, and if you're interested in finding out more about it, I'll leave a link in the video description. You can see the compost in this bed is dark and rich and fine and really very lovely. However, immediately underneath that membrane, it's a very different story. It's clayey, claggy, it's very cold to the touch. And so over the next couple of years, as that membrane breaks down, the worms will be able to come up from underneath and go down from the top and mix the compost and the soil together, and hopefully will improve this. It will make the compost more water retentive, and it will just be a win-win. I recently celebrated a birthday and Mr. J very kindly gave me some roses. These aren't just any roses though, they are standard roses. So they have a long stem, and then the rose plant as we know it sits on top of the stem so that it will grow high up. The flowers will be out of the way of any plants beneath it and will provide interest at eye height and above. These have arrived as bare root trees, which means literally how it sounds. The roots don't have any soil on them. So I'm now going to give them a good soak in a bucket of rainwater for a minimum of half an hour. Don't want to go much more than 2 hours, but they certainly need to rehydrate. They've also come with stakes and ties, so I will need to put the stake in and make that nice and secure, and I'm going to do that before I put the rose plant in so that I don't then bang the stake through its roots. So I need to work out where is approximately halfway on. If I was being accurate, I would get bits of string and put them from diagonal corners. But I think that will do. Maybe. There we go. Now I will adjust the height when I've brought the rose over to see what sort of height it's going to be. I don't want this sticking up into the crown, but I don't want it too far down either. So So it's taken me a little while, but I have now finally got all 4 of my standard roses in. This was an amazing birthday present from my husband. He knew that I really wanted some standard roses to go in these 4 central beds. These are far more flower beds than veg beds, and then all the other beds around are the vegetable beds. There are some veg in here, but it's kind of worked out that these ones generally have more flowers in, and I'm really happy about that. It means when I come through from the gate at the end, I walk through lots of flowers on my way through to the polytunnel, and that brings me a lot of joy indeed. So here I am in the polytunnel, and I'm going to create a space here for seedlings to germinate and to grow on. But I'm going to do it so it's raised off the ground, and that's because there's wildlife living in this polytunnel, and I don't want my seeds and young seedlings to be food for slugs, snails, and even for things like voles. So my plan is to only use things that I already have on site. So I've got some metal poles, I've got baling twine which is attached to wires up on the ceiling, and I've got some metal grid stuff which I've had for, I don't know, about 10 years now. So my idea is to put these poles, hang the poles up, and then put the grid on top. Now last year I just attached the grid here, and I found it quite hard to work with. Because this is only a temporary fixture, you could use twine, you could use household string. It wouldn't necessarily need to be baling twine. And the idea is that this is pretty much horizontal level. So what I'm going to do is tie this one so that it's in a loop that I can adjust. I hope. And do this by eye. So tie that into a bow, and then this one can come along a bit. Oh, well, I do want that one to go along a bit. I've got a bit of wood. There are reasons that I keep bits and pieces around. So I'm going to put that hopefully sort of in the middle. Move that one across to sort of in the middle. That one to match the first one. There we go. Happy days. And again, I'll loop this around and tie it. There we go. So now this second side, and the hard bit on this is to get it so that it's level with the first side. And this I know will be one of those try it and see and adjust it several times things. So we'll come back when I've got that done. So I think I'm nearly there. I think this one is possibly a little bit lower than this, but we shall see as we adjust it. The next thing I need to do is to get my bit of metal grid. I can't remember what this was from. It's not something I bought, it was something that was lying around, I think, in our last home when we got there. But I like it very much, and one of the reasons I like it so much is that because it's an open grid rather than a solid base. Try that again, shall I? Because it's an open grid rather than a solid base, it allows the water to drain through, and any seedlings on here aren't just sitting in a pool of water. So here we go. Now, that's looking very nice. I'm fairly sure it's not level. I can see it leans that way. So I can let this side down or raise that side up. And because I've got a fixed one in the corner there, I'm going to raise this side up at a later moment. So what it means now is that I have something that I can put seed trays on. So once I've sown things, they can live here. It's very easy, nice height for me to water them, to work with them, but they're high enough up off the ground that things can't jump up and access them. Because they're hanging, slugs can't get at them without going all the way up the polytunnel and then doing some sort of feat of magic by kind of lunging from the ceiling at them. The only way they will get there is if they are on the underneath of the trays as I put them on. So I need to be very careful when I'm sowing my seeds that I don't use trays that have already got slugs on them. Now the other thing I want to put on here are these trays. These are the drip trays for grow bags. I really like the size of them because I can get plenty of small seed trays in. There we go. And once I've brought out my spirit level to make sure that this is horizontal, any water in those seed trays isn't just going to pour out, it will remain there. And so now I am ready and prepared for seed sowing. There have been a few days this month where it either hasn't been completely pouring with rain or it hasn't been frozen, and we've been out clearing the beds a little bit. Now, I'm not very keen on taking huge amounts of seedlings away until I'm sure what they are, and I will keep monitoring them as they're coming through. But things that I know are weeds: creeping buttercup, rosebay willow herb and stinging nettles that are coming up in the beds. We've been lifting those and disposing of them, and I just keep on walking around and picking out more as I see them. And I've also been adding some homemade compost onto the soil. I'm now almost out of homemade compost, so that won't go for much longer. But it has been nice to be able to give it a bit of a mulch, just a couple of centimetres, to carry on building the soil in these beds. Unless you have a heat mat, a heated greenhouse and grow lights, and that's all that kind of kit, I think it's too early to be sowing any seeds. But I am starting to get the beds ready, and I am starting to plan what I want to be sowing this year. And if you want to know what you can sow in the month ahead, in a heated greenhouse or under some cover with some heat, I've made a video, and so I'll leave a link on the screen and in the video description. And if you click on that link, it'll take you straight through to that video.